In this tutorial, we're going to be discussing how to track late shipments to FBA and what to do with them. So if you want to start, you're going to get a little widget here on your command center, which is the default dashboard on SoStocked. And by the way, please watch the tutorial on how to use the entire command center. But this is showing us that we have 7 shipments that are late at FBA. And let's go ahead and review what to do with that. So I'm going to click this Review FBA Shipments button. And what this is doing is it's taking me to the Orders section of SoStocked, the FBA Shipments page, and then it's pre-filtering where these are active, open FBA shipments, meaning Amazon has not closed them yet. The percentage is less than 100% arrived. Anything less than, meaning older than this date. So we can see here, if I go ahead and close this, what I usually like to do, and it's not a default, but I like to put a date on here. So date created, you know, the date that I created the FBA shipment, right? You can see these are old shipments going back as old as August. So here's an example of one where I sent 270 units and only 269 were received. Now that's not really a big issue. I'm probably not going to care about that one. Okay, so you can see this one here arrived at some point. It said it was shipped, but nothing was actually received at Amazon. So what I would do is I would probably go ahead and stop tracking it. But before I do that, I want to actually open up this purchase order in a new tab. Because once I stop tracking or unreconcile it, you won't have a link over here anymore. So I want to open this up. So we can see that this shipment date was from a month ago and it never arrived. And per the lead time, it should be arriving any day now. Now the reason why is because even though my original lead time was only like 10 days, when you have that reconciled to an FBA shipment, we will add additional time to the end of that forecast until it arrives. Let me show you what that looks like. You can see here that it says there's 24 units arriving at Amazon. That's because on the actual work order, because this is reconciled to an FBA shipment, we're going to keep adding an additional day to this lead time, day after day after day. On the forecast, this is always going to show up as tomorrow, 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 until that inventory finally gets checked in. So it's very important that we no longer track that FBA shipment as inbound if it's truly lost. So what I can do is I can just note that here, right? Open that in a new tab, and I can go ahead and actually stop tracking this shipment. Now when I stop tracking that shipment, it's going to unreconcile that order from my purchase order. I no longer have a link anymore, and we're no longer going to tell you to reconcile it. So we're going to consider this lost. Now I can follow up with my supplier and find out, did you never send this in the first place? And get reimbursed for that inventory that I paid for, or check with my warehouse if it was never shipped. Or I can also check and open up a case with Amazon and actually get them to investigate this. So even though we've unreconciled this, it still thinks it's going to arrive tomorrow because that's how the system saved the lead time. But what I can do is actually just set this to a certain number of days in the past so that this date is in the past, and then I can save and close this shipment. So now this is marked as closed. And why is that important? That's very important because even if I unreconcile and stop tracking the FBA shipment, if I have a purchase order or work order open in the system with a date in the future for the end of the lead time, it's still going to show up like this. Now that the lead time has been corrected, the PO is, or the work order in this case, is closed and the FBA shipment is disconnected from the system. If I refresh this page, it no longer shows that we have any inbound inventory. If these are not reconciled, like see the rest of these are not reconciled, we don't have to really worry about them as far as inbound inventory. None of this inventory is going to be marked as inbound unless the FBA shipment was reconciled, and it would have been orange or yellow and it'd say reconciled and you would see what it was reconciled to. If you have inventory like this for multiple products or multiple shipments, you can come up here and you can do stop tracking in bulk. The issue with that is I would use that very, very sparingly because sometimes Amazon will actually disconnect your API when you do bulk actions like this. And the reason is that every single one of these is a separate API call to Amazon. They will throttle API accounts and they'll actually disconnect SoStock from your Amazon Seller Central. If that ever happens, you'll get a red warning on the top that says your API token has expired or it's disconnected. It's not a big deal. All that means is you have to come down here, you got to go to connected stores, come over here and reconnect whatever region was disconnected from your API. It takes about 2 minutes. It's not a big problem. Just be careful because you could be disconnected. Otherwise, you can do one at a time. Just come up here, stop tracking, wait a few minutes, go to the next one, stop tracking. Amazon just doesn't like a lot of API calls for the same issue at the same time.